village, hidden in the sand, was bursting with activity. Their pain of losing so many shinobi to the Leaf Village had dulled a little bit, but that wasn't why they were all celebrating and cheering. Today marked the day that the 5th Kazekage would take his position as the leader of Suna, and hopefully make better decisions than the last one. Every single person was gathered around the Kazekage Tower in the middle of Suna. The Kazekage Tower was the biggest building in all of Suna, and was the workplace of the Kazekage, his assistant, and all the other personnel. On top of the tower, a lone figure was seen approaching. He had long white robes with a green hat. On the hat was the kanji for 5th Kazekage. The Kazekage removed his hat to show a man with 2 very distinctive red marks on the right side of his face, the only visible part of his head, while the rest being covered by his turban-like headgear and by a sheet hanging from it on the left side of his face. The man was Baki, the former sensei of Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro, and now the new Kazekage of the Sand Village. Baki raised his hands high into the air and signaled the population to calm down, so he could begin his speech. "People of Sand, I come to talk to you with a heavy heart. I know it's still fresh, the wounds and pain of those who lost loved ones on a foolish attempt orchestrated by my predecessor." Baki started, and most of the people lowered their heads. "But," Baki yelled, "let us not dwell in the past, and let's look into a brighter future. As of now, we are all allied to Iwagekure since their Tsuchikage has agreed. We shall repay the Leaf in kind," Baki said, and in a dark tone. "But for now, we shall focus on rebuilding and bringing our village back to its peak. I promise that from now on, I'll lead this village to the best of my capabilities. As the 5th Kazekage," Baki yelled, and the crowd erupted into cheers. "Lord 5th, Lord 5th, the crowd cheered for the newly appointed leader, Konoha. Naruto and Hinata were walking home after Naruto had gobbled up almost 10 bowls of ramen. To this day, Hinata still wondered where the hell all that went. It wasn't physically possible for someone to eat so much. It is known that the stomach stretches to accommodate the food, but 10 bowls is ridiculous. Being that Naruto is an expert in space-time techniques, Hinata wondered if his stomach had some seal that would store and release his ramen at a constant state. All kidding aside, it's well known that shinobi have a much faster metabolism than ordinary people. This is due to their work and their active chakra networks. To a normal person, digestion takes about 3 hours, while to a shinobi, it takes a mere hour. Naruto's in Jinchuriki, which causes his metabolism to go into hyperdrive. That was the real reason Naruto could eat so much. By the time he reached his 3rd/4th bowl, the first one he ate would already be digested and so on. "Ah, that hit the spot," Naruto said, rubbing his stomach while Hinata was giggling and clinging to his right arm. "Don't you get tired of ramen?" Hinata asked, shaking her head. "You almost eat 30 bowls a week." "How could you?" Naruto asked in a mock hurt. "Ramen is the food of the gods," Naruto said with anime tears. I know, Hinata replied, still laughing. "Are you making fun of me?" Naruto asked in a teasing voice. "What if I am?" Hinata replied, deciding to play along. "Then I have to punish you," Naruto said, and swooped Hinata off her feet and placed her on his shoulder, holding her by her legs. Naruto secured her and proceeded to dash mad speed to their home. "Slow down!" Hinata yelled, but Naruto didn't hear, and proceeded to deactivate his gravity seals for an extra speed boost. "We're home," Naruto said gently, placing Hinata on the ground, who was still seeing stars from Naruto's bumpy ride. Senju Compound. Naruto and Hinata walked inside the compound and into the living room to find the Sand siblings there. Gaara was reading, much surprise there. Temari was cleaning up her fan, and Kankuro was doing something to his puppets. By the looks of it, Kankuro was either testing or assembling some new puppet, since Naruto had only seen his Karasu, and the last time he saw his puppet, he kinda drove a Rasengan through it. "Yo," Naruto said, walking into the room and making everyone turn to greet him. "Man, I'm spent. All that I want now is a warm bath and a bed," Naruto said, plopping onto a nearby couch. "Welcome, Naruto," Gaara said, looking up from his book and proceeding to flip a page. "By the way," Kankuro started, "I heard you made it to the bingo book." "Congrats," Kankuro said, and Temari scolded him, saying that having a bullseye on the back of his head isn't exactly good news. "Congratulations, Hinata. He also made it into the bingo book. Temari happily congratulated Hinata, and got confused looks from Kankuro and Naruto. Is she bipolar? Naruto whispered to Kankuro, who shrugged his shoulders. How the hell should I know? Kankuro replied, and Naruto got deadpanned. She's your sister, moron, Naruto simply replied. I avoid my sister because she tends to be a bit aggressive with that fan, Kankuro replied, shivering. Between his sister's fan and his brother's sand, he really didn't know what to pick. Let's show them that Kunoichi are just as good as men, Temari stated, swinging her fan and creating a small gust of wind. By the way, Naruto started. How is training with Anko? Naruto asked, and everyone froze at his question. I don't like it. Mother is afraid of her, Gaara said, shaking, while Kankuro wasn't faring much better either. I like it, Temari in a happy voice said. Too happy if you ask me. It's awesome. A couple days ago she let us interrogate a prisoner and use all of her tools, Temari said with stars in her eyes. She's so cool, I want to be just like her, Temari said, and both Naruto and Hinata slowly nodded, knowing that if that happened, it wouldn't be safe to live in the Senju compound anymore. Maybe she'll let me sign the snake contract, Temari suddenly said, and all the males paled at the thought of Temari summoning snakes to discipline everyone. Poor Shikamaru, Naruto whispered to Kankuro, who chuckled. Hey Gaara, how is the seal holding up? Naruto asked. He had yet to ask Gaara about his new seal, since he was out for nearly 2 days when he applied it. It's very good, Gaara said. I can sleep peacefully, which I really like. Besides that, Shukaku is being friendlier. Shukaku? Naruto asked, and Gaara nodded. Friendlier? Naruto confirmed, and Gaara nodded again, never looking up from his book. Are you high? Naruto asked, and Gaara got confused. No, I'm at the same altitude as you, Gaara replied, and Naruto's sweat dropped. Forget it. Explain to me the whole Shukaku being friendlier thing, Naruto asked. Well, according to him, all the seals used to seal him up were defective. He was in such poor conditions that it was driving him mad, Gaara explained. He said, do you know what it's like to be stuck in a cage and being unable to sleep? Gaara said, and Naruto pondered. I didn't really study much of your seal, I only really know that it wasn't meant for holding bijus, Naruto stated, and Gaara nodded. Yes, Shukaku said that I wasn't able to sleep because he wasn't either, and if he couldn't sleep because of the seal, it was poorly constructed, and that was making him insane. It was like having an itch and never being able to scratch it, Gaara explained. Good, Naruto replied. One less lunatic to deal with, Naruto thought. Suddenly the door of the living room opened, and Tsunade, Shizune, and Jiraiya walked in. Hey Granny, pervious sage, big sister Shizune, Naruto said, greeting his grandmother, his sister figure, and his godfather, who got a tick mark on his forehead. Damn it kid, don't call me that, Jiraiya yelled, crying anime tears. But you're a pervert and always pigging around the hot springs, Naruto simply stated. Actually, I haven't peeked in almost a week, Jiraiya proudly said, and Naruto's eyes widened. Blasphemy! Naruto yelled, throwing holy water to Jiraiya. What brought this on? Naruto asked. I'll tell you later, Jiraiya said, and Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Oh, Naruto, Jiraiya bringing his attention back to him. Me and Tsunade need to talk to all of you later, Jiraiya explained, and they all nodded. They all went to the kitchen to have dinner, minus Naruto, who decided to take a shower while they all ate. In fact, both Naruto and Hinata had already eaten back at Ichiraku's, and weren't hungry, so they just waited for them to finish so they could have the conversation that Jiraiya had mentioned. An hour later, everyone had already eaten, and they were all seated in the living room. They didn't know what Jiraiya wanted with them, but the serious look on his face told everyone that this wasn't some chit-chat. They were even more convinced when Naruto placed his sound and visual seal around the room. So, what did you want to talk to us about? Naruto asked, while everyone was wondering pretty much the same thing. The Akatsuki, and more particularly, this fellow, Toby, Jiraiya said, and Naruto instantly knew this had something to do with his latest mission. Wait, Naruto called out. If it's about Toby, we should include Kurama in this, Naruto said, and everyone raised an eyebrow. Kurama? Tsunade asked, confused. Kurama is the Kyuubi's real name. He trusted me with his name, and I'm doing the same with you, Naruto said, and they all nodded. Naruto proceeded to make a shadow clone and have Kurama switch with him. I'm here, you can start, pervert, Kurama said, and Naruto bit back a laugh. Naruto, Hinata, Jiraiya said, focusing on both of them. I need to know everything about him from your mouths. I know what Tsunade told me, but explained everything, even if it might seem irrelevant, Jiraiya explained, and Naruto took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts before beginning. For starters, he said that he's Madara Uchiha, my grandfather, but that is false, Naruto started. When he said that, I took a reading at his chakra, and it had nothing to do with mine. Of course it had similarities, as we are both Uchihas, but he was too different from mine, Naruto said. But you're also a Senju, don't forget that, Gaara commented. I'll tell you what I told him. If you saw me with short hair and without whiskers, I could pass for my father, right? Naruto asked, and they all nodded. That means that my father's genes are dominant, meaning that my chakra signature is more related to my father, and of course, grandfather than to that of my mother, Naruto explained, and they all nodded. And he also has the wood release, Naruto said, still not believing what he saw. With that wood release stunt he pulled back with Kakuzu, he would believe that Tobi was using genjutsu as well. I wonder about that, Tsunade said, rubbing her chin. So far, no one has ever awakened the wood release bloodline since my father, and all Senju clan members were accounted for. Unless some member had a one-night stand with someone who we just didn't know about, Tsunade said, trying to explain just who the hell Tobi was. Another thing I noticed about him, Naruto said, and looked straight at Tsunade. Besides him having the wood release, is that he had Senju chakra, but it felt irregular, Naruto said. What do you mean by irregular? Tsunade asked. I don't know how to explain it properly. It's like that Senju chakra was different from the Uchiha one. They were vibrating at different frequencies, so to speak. Another way to put it is, it's as if he had both Senju chakra and Uchiha chakra, but separately in his body, and yet one single chakra signature, Naruto explained, or tried for that matter. When he sensed his chakra, he wasn't looking for anything in particular, other than that confirming if he was Madara or not. I see, Tsunade said, digesting the information. What can you tell us about his chakra? Tsunade asked, turning to Hinata. Unfortunately, I can't tell you anything. My Byakugan doesn't differentiate chakra signatures, so all chakra looks the same to us. With the exception of Biju chakra, of course, Hinata explained, and Tsunade sighed. Granny, Naruto said, making her focus on her. Do you think it's possible he somehow injected Senju DNA into his body? Naruto asked, and Tsunade unfortunately nodded. It's possible, but very risky, Tsunade said before she walked out of the room, leaving and activated her space bridge to go to her office and picked up a file. This is a file on one of our Anbu operatives, Tenzo, Tsunade said, passing the file by everyone in the room. When he was young, Tenzo was kidnapped by Orochimaru and experimented on, Tsunade said, sighing at the shocked faces of Naruto and Hinata. He was one of 60 children that Orochimaru tried to inject Senju DNA to give them the wood release bloodline. Of all the 60 children, he was the only one who survived. But even though he survived, he became capable of using the wood release, however, a much weaker version than that of my father, Tsunade explained. So, it's possible that this Tobi is injecting Great Grand's DNA to increase his body prowess, and to use his wood release bloodline, Naruto asked, and Tsunade nodded. Then Jinchuriki have a major problem on their hands, Naruto said. What do you mean? Jiraiya asked. Two things. He has both a Sharingan and the wood release bloodline. He'll be able to subjugate every Biju out there, Naruto said, and everyone's eyes widened, as they didn't think of that. Hashirama in his prime was able to subjugate all 9 Biju simultaneously if need be, and this Tobi also had a Sharingan, increasing his potential. And then there's his Mangekyo, Naruto said. You said that it had the same ability as yours, right? Tsunade asked, and Naruto nodded. Not only does he have Kamui, but we don't even know what other powers he may have, Naruto started. I get the feeling that the Sharingan's potential is limitless, Naruto said, and everyone raised an eyebrow. What makes you say that? Jiraiya asked. I unlocked another power during our mission, Naruto explained, and Jiraiya motioned for him to continue. You aren't going to believe it, but this new power allows me to turn back time a couple of seconds, with only the user being aware of what occurred, Naruto explained, and Jiraiya's jaw dropped. can you run that by me again? Snotty asked, wondering if the sake she drank was a bit too much. I can turn back time, Naruto said. No, Jiraiya said, shaking his head. It's not possible, Jiraiya said. Nothing is impossible in the shinobi world, and I can prove it, Naruto said, and wondered just how the hell he was going to do that. I want you to think of a word and memorize it, Naruto said, and Jiraiya, who agreed and chose his word. Now, you're going to tell it to me, and I'm going to turn back time to the point where you didn't tell it to me, Naruto explained, and everyone nodded. Jiraiya said his word to Naruto, and he activated his Mangekyo and focused. He still couldn't control this new technique very well. He still couldn't control the amount of time he turned back, as it was a random amount of seconds. Sometimes it was 5 seconds, other times it was 7, and the most he managed was 12 seconds. Time God, Naruto said, and his Mangekyo pulsed before starting to spin counterclockwise. Stop, Naruto yelled at Jiraiya, who was about to speak the word. I already know the word, and turn back time. The word you chose was boobs, Naruto said, and Tsunade got a tick mark, getting ready to bury Jiraiya into the ground. Is that enough proof? Naruto asked, but they were still a little dubious about it. I mean, turning back time. I can vouch for him, since I'm inside of him. I witnessed the whole thing, Kurama said, and eventually everyone caved. So, what are we gonna do about this Toby person? Naruto asked, looking at everyone. He was the reason Kurama attacked the leaf. He's the reason my parents are dead, Naruto explained, unintentionally giving up Ki. You aren't going for revenge, I hope, Jiraiya asked. He knew of many shinobi who would embrace revenge, and it didn't end up well for anyone. I won't give in to revenge, Naruto said, and everyone sighed in relief. But, Naruto continued, and everyone tensed. When we meet in combat, and we will eventually, I'm going to kill him, Naruto said with his Sharingan spinning. And I'll be there, Jiraiya said. That bastard is going to pay for killing my student, Jiraiya said. And my daughter, Tsunade said, and everyone nodded. It seemed everyone wanted a piece of Toby. Now, it brings us to the main point of this conversation, and the reason why I wanted Gaara and his siblings in here as well, Jiraiya started. I heard from my spies that the Akatsuki are going on a down low for 3 years before they start hunting for the Jinchuriki, Jiraiya explained. That's why I want to take Naruto and Gaara on a 3-year training trip, Jiraiya said, and everyone was shocked. You want to take Naruto away for 3 years? Hinata asked in a sad voice. Cheer up, Yume, Naruto said, hugging her. You forget, I have 2 space-time techniques at my disposal. I'll come see you every day, Naruto said, and Hinata instantly perked up, kissing him. I know you're strong enough to hold your own against them, but when 3 years are up, I want you to be able to take the whole organization on and come out the winner, Jiraiya said, puffing his chest, and Naruto just stared at him. Sure, Naruto is strong, but taking on 10 S-rank shinobi at the same time, Jiraiya was crazy. 10 S-rank shinobi are enough to take down whole countries and armies. You're kidding, right? Naruto asked, but Jiraiya shook his head. Think of it this way, Jiraiya started. You're an S-rank shinobi at 14 years old. What rank do you think you'll be at when you reach your prime in a couple of years? Jiraiya rhetorically asked, and Kankuro paled. Naruto had taken his sensei, him, his sister, and his brother on and came out the winner, and he wasn't in his prime. I suppose, Naruto said. So, what we'll be doing during this trip, Naruto asked, wanting to know the details. We'll be ironing out any of your flaws in your taijutsu, merge your Sengun with elemental affinity, get some field experience, let your body mature to unleash its full power. You will have enough time to complete any technique you're developing, and you can train your eyes further, Jiraiya explained, and Naruto nodded. It seemed like a solid plan. For you, Gaara, I can teach you a proper taijutsu style along with elemental affinities, and how to properly control Shikaku. The sand, I'll leave it to you since it's your bloodline, Jiraiya explained, and Gaara nodded in appreciation. If you'll train for 3 years, then so will I, Hinata said. Alright, Tsunade yelled. When I'm finished with you, you'll be giving a run for their money to anyone in the village, Tsunade said, laughing evilly, making Hinata pale. Medical training was supposed to be indoors and calm, right? I'm definitely asking Anko for the summoning contract, Tamari said, and even Jiraiya paled. He didn't want another crazy pretty thing like Tamari to turn into Anko. She was one crazy bitch. May God have mercy on her husband's soul, Jiraiya thought. Somewhere in the Nara compound, a certain pineapple-haired teen sneezed. Troublesome, he said before yawning and going back to sleep. This is all I wanted to say to you, Jiraiya said, and everyone left their rooms. Okay, so some things happened in the middle of the night in the Senju compound between Tsunade and Jiraiya, and everyone else heard it. And I don't really want to go into detail as I don't want to get demonetized. Now, if you want to read it for whatever reason, the link to the story will be down in the description below. Just know that something between Jiraiya and Tsunade happened, and everyone else heard it, and Naruto got pretty annoyed, as well as everyone else. But let's just gloss over that part. Later that day, Sasuke was sitting high up in a tree in the middle of Konoha. He was contemplating on his choices, and all the training he had done went down the drain. He didn't understand why he wasn't strong enough. He trained every day to the brink of exhaustion, and yet he was utterly defeated and humiliated by his enemy Kakuzu. And, above all else, Naruto was able to defeat him. Sasuke didn't understand what made Naruto so special. He even decided to follow Naruto's advice and got closer to his team. Well, as far as he could without breaking up his training schedule or endangering his quest for avenging his fallen clan. Naruto said that true power came from protecting people, and yet Sasuke remained weak, powerless in the face of stronger enemies. Kakuzu said that Itachi belonged to the Akatsuki organization, and if he was a member as well, and Naruto defeated him so easily, then Sasuke would stand no chance against his brother. Sasuke would need an ace up his sleeve. What do you want? Sasuke asked as he felt 4 presences nearby watching him from afar, but not far enough for Sasuke not to notice him. 4 figures dropped in front of him, staring at him impassively. I won't ask again, Sasuke said in a dangerous voice with his Sharingan glowing. I don't know what Lord Orochimaru wants with this loser, one of the figures said. He had dark gray hair with long bangs that covered his right eye. He wore a green shade of lipstick and had dark markings around their eyes, giving them an androgynous appearance. He also wore brown tunics with long black skin-tight shorts and purple ropes tied around their waists. He was Sakon, one of the Sound 4, the elite bodyguards of Orochimaru. We aren't here to ask questions, shithead, another replied. She had red hair and wore a black hat with bandaged sides. She wore a tan tunic much like the other members of the Sound 4, with black shorts and the standard black shinobi sandals. She was Toyuya, another member of the Sound 4. Let's get this over with, another member said. He was a large and imposing young man, towering over the rest of his teammates. He had orange eyes and 3 tufts of orange hair on his head, a mohawk of sorts that ran down the middle and 2 similar styled tufts of hair at the side. He wore a sleeveless tunic with the symbol of the Sound 4 on the hem, along with black arm warmers, a pair of black 3/4 length pants that stopped just below his knees. Along with this, he wore sandals with leg warmers covered by bandages, a purple rope belt around his waist, and a necklace that comprised of circular, separate long metallic pieces. He was Jirobo, one of the Sound 4. Lord Orochimaru has a proposal for you, the last member of the Sound 4 said. He was a dark-skinned shinobi with black shaggy hair and black eyes. Uniquely, he also had 6 arms and wore a black sleeveless top and shorts, over which he wore a tunic that bore the symbol of the Sound 4, and a purple rope belt around his waist. He also wore the headband protector of his village, along with arm warmers, shinobi sandals, and bandages around his legs. He was Kidomaru, the last member of his team. He, along with Tayuya, Jirobo, and Sakon, were the Sound 4, elite bodyguards of Orochimaru. Let's hear it, Sasuke said, not once looking away from the enemy. Sasuke may be a lot of things, but he wasn't a fool. If you come to him, he will give you all the power you will ever need, Tayuya said, and Sasuke stayed silent. Konoha was doing him nothing regarding his vengeance on his brother. In fact, since Naruto publicly stated he was a Sharingan user, Sasuke's leverage dropped significantly. What makes Orochimaru that powerful? He got his ass handed him by Naruto and he's 14 like me, Sasuke questioned. It's your choice, Kidomaru started. You can stay here and keep playing ninja with your friends, Kidomaru said, showing one of his hands. Or, Kidomaru said, showing the other hand, you come with us, and Lord Orochimaru will give you all the power you will ever need, Kidomaru finished. There's nothing to think about, Sasuke said, getting up and dusting himself off. When do we leave? Sasuke asked, and Toyuya smirked. At least this loser knew what was good for him. Don't you need to take anything? Sakon asked, and Sasuke pondered before nodding. Then, meet us at the edge of the North Gate in 1 hour. Don't be late, or we will leave without you, Sakon said, and all the Sound Fort disappeared in a blur, leaving Sasuke to go home and pack. 30 minutes later, middle of Konoha. It was dark in Konoha, as the sun was already gone. The only light available was of that provided by the moon, or the nearby public lamps. Sasuke was walking calmly and quietly, trying not to raise any type of suspicions. He knew that if Konoha knew he left, they would hunt him down with a threadless Sharingan, ending up in another village. Sasuke looked ahead and saw Sakura looking at him. What are you doing here in the middle of the night, Sakura? Sasuke asked, stopping in front of her. You're leaving the village, aren't you? Sakura asked, but Sasuke didn't answer, and just started walking again, passing by her without wasting a glance. Go home, Sakura. Go to sleep, Sasuke said, and kept on walking while Sakura remained there, in place. Silent tears started to fall from her face. Is that all you have to say? Sakura asked, shedding silent tears, not once raising her voice. After all the good times we had together as a team, and with me, Sakura said, shaking. You're just going to walk away? Sakura said. I told you that you don't understand, Sakura said, stopping, but not turning to face her. You don't know what it's like to lose your whole family, and the person responsible being your brother. You don't know the pain I felt, the pain I feel, Sasuke said. I'm an Avenger, and I won't stop until I've killed my brother. I can't be delayed by some silly crush, Sasuke said coldly. The only thing I need is power, and I won't get that here, Sasuke explained. So you're just going to leave everything behind? Sakura rhetorically asked. We had good times, Sakura started. Flashback. Team 7 with their sensei had just gone back from one mission. They were all eating barbecue at a restaurant. Between Kiba's loud and annoying voice and Sakura's giggling, everyone was enjoying themselves. Even the brooding Uchiha managed a couple of smirks. And a flashback. It was another training day for Team 7 with their scarecrow sensei. They were all practicing taijutsu forms. Move your right arm slightly apart, Sasuke said towards Sakura, who quickly nodded, blushing. Back in the trees, Kakashi chuckled to himself. His team was doing just fine. And a flashback. Team 7 had just engaged in a couple of bandits, and Sasuke had saved Sakura. The enemy was about to kill her when Sasuke's body blocked the strike, taking the hit in a less critical area. Why? Sakura asked, sobbing. I don't know, my body moved on its own, Sasuke explained, removing the kunai from his shoulder. Thank you, Sakura said and gently kissed his cheek. What was that for? Sasuke yelled, rubbing his cheek. Oh, shut up, you liked it, Sakura chirped while Sasuke scoffed but managed a small smile. Kiba stated, making Sasuke glare at him. And a flashback. It was another simple mission that would last a couple of days. It was night, and the weather was warm, so everyone in the team decided to sleep out in the open. Sasuke had yet to fall asleep, and was watching the starry sky deep in thought. Sasuke was so deep in thought that he didn't notice a certain pink-haired girl roll over in her sleep. Sasuke tried to move, but found it difficult. He looked down to see Sakura cuddling with him. She'd intertwined her legs with his, and was sleeping peacefully in his chest. Troublesome, Sasuke muttered to himself, while slightly blushing, but did nothing to separate her from him. End of flashback. Like I thought, Sasuke started. I am nothing like any of you. I won't stop at nothing until I finish my quest, Sasuke coldly said, before disappearing in a blur, and reappearing right behind Sakura. Sakura, I'm sorry, Sasuke said, as he picked up a kunai and quickly slit her throat. Sakura tried to say something, but only a bloody gurgle was heard. Sakura fell to her knees and dropped to the ground, lifeless. Sasuke was still standing in the same place, frozen. Sasuke felt something watery in his face. He swiped his cheek with his hands and noticed that they were tears. He was crying. Sasuke's chakra spiked and his chakra flared to life. It had 2 tomos. A big chunk of chakra was funneled toward his eyes, and Sasuke's Sharingan started spinning. It quickly became a 3-tomo Sharingan, but continued to spin, and it started to shift its form. His eyes stopped spinning, and the whole pattern was different. His eyes were black in the background with 3 blood-red intersecting ellipses. Sasuke's eyes had changed into the all-powerful Mangekyo Sharingan. Now that I have eyes like you, Sasuke started, I'll hunt you down, big brother.